next up in our series of mini lessons for ancient Rome and the Roman Empire is the transition. How that little settlement along the Tiber River, where Rome is, that started off as a republic spread across 7 hills, this little dot right here, becomes the greatest empire in the history of the world, at least to that point. Well, the process isn't quite as simple as we might think. For a long time, the Roman Republic was referred to as a republic, even while it was taking over other territories. You can see here by 100 BCE, the Romans have taken over all of the Italian peninsula, 3 strategic islands in the Mediterranean Sea, Sicily, Corsica, and Sardinia, parts of northern Africa, where another empire, Carthage, was, parts of Spain, parts of France, Greece, parts of Turkey. They're really not this little simple republic, even at 100 BCE. Even at 100 BCE. They've really already started that transition. But the key is, at this point in Rome's history, they still use the Senate exclusively as their method of ruling and their method of maintaining order throughout all of the areas of their quote-unquote republic. So that's kind of the key distinction. It becomes an empire when the Senate loses power and one person at various stages is in control, the emperor. So today we want to look at the transition itself, which is really centered around one person who likely you have heard of already, Julius Caesar. By the time of 50 BCE, you can see how much more territory has been gained, even more amount of France. Britain really should be highlighted at this point. More of Greece, more of Asia, more of northern Africa. This is all happening because of Rome's awesome military, and the military was led by awesome generals, such as Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was a bad dude. He was really responsible for a lot of their military success, especially in what was called then Gaul. It's called France today. But Gaul is a massive territory loaded with farmland and great rivers that the Romans had tried to conquer for years and years and years and weren't able to do so. One person, a great strategic mind, Julius Caesar, was able to do that. So that really gives him a lot of popularity with the people of Rome and people throughout the empire, because they're the ones that ultimately reap most of the benefits from taking over all of that land. All of that land is just going to funnel more and more wealth and more resources and more food back into the city of Rome, where pretty shortly it's going to be the first city in the history of the world to inhabit 1 million people at one time. So all the people of Rome are benefiting from Caesar's actions as a general, but he's not. He's away in what is France today, Gaul back then. He's working with his military, and he decides, I've done a lot. I've been away for a long time. I've helped make this city incredibly rich. I want to come back to Rome. Well, there's plenty of people throughout Rome who would have been thrilled by that idea. Oh, Caesar's coming back. That's great. He's like a rock star to them. But there's one group of people in particular, the Senate, who does not want Julius Caesar to come back, because they know if he comes back to Rome, he's going to be the one in power, and that the Senate is going to lose their power, and the Senate is going to effectively be useless, because that power is going to be all consolidated into the hands of this great general, Julius Caesar. So he sends word back to Rome from his camp in Gaul, and he says, I am going to come back to Rome, and you can't stop me. Well, the Senate sends back word to him, absolutely not. Don't you dare come back to Rome. You're not welcome here, and you certainly will not bring your military with you, because that was viewed as a threat against the city of Rome. Well, for the Senate, a bunch of these older guys who haven't really done a whole lot, for them to tell Caesar not to come back, that would be like Taylor Swift telling Kanye West, leave me alone and stop writing about me. Kanye's not going to listen to that. In fact, he's probably going to do it more, and it's going to make him even more mad, and he's going to enjoy it even more. That's kind of what happens with Caesar. Caesar's like Kanye in this instance. So he does return to Rome. He crosses the Rubicon River, which is considered the point of no return. Nothing would ever be the same after that, historians said. And he brings his military with him. And he comes back to the city of Rome. The Senate certainly doesn't stop him because, again, he's a bad dude and he brought his military with him. But a funny thing happens when he gets back to Rome. The people of Rome absolutely love Julius Caesar, and he's acting like a dictator. He comes back and he says, I am dictator for life. Yeah, the Senate, you guys can still be senators, but the real power is in my hands. But the people absolutely love him because he realizes if I'm going to be here, I've got to make the people happy. And he does that with three main actions. He gives the people free food. It was called bread. He gives people and bread could be in a variety of forms, but they get free food, so they never have to worry about whether they were going to be fed or not. And most of the people in Rome at that time were poor comparatively in terms of their living standards. So for them to know that they have free food, man, that makes them really happy. So the people love that. He also gives them free entertainment, which were called circuses at places like the Colosseum or those arenas or other theaters. That keeps the people happy as well. And he also starts these massive public work projects, these big construction projects, like with the roads and other arenas or theaters. And that puts the people to work. So the majority of Rome's population is absolutely in love with Caesar. They're in love with this idea of the dictator. They could care less about the Roman Republic. They're just happy that they're getting free food, free entertainment, and man, they're working. These are all great things. There's one group of people, though, who are really, really unhappy, and that's the Senate. They realize that Caesar is a dictator, and they know that their power is essentially gone, and that the Roman Republic, as soon as Caesar, the point of no return, as soon as he returns to Rome, they realize that the Republic is essentially over with. So the Senate comes up with this idea, and apparently the only logical choice to them at that point. They come up with the idea that if they kill Caesar, the Republic will come back to life, because then the dictator would be gone and the power would be restored into the hands of the Senate. And that's exactly what they do. They attack Caesar in the Senate. They stab him 23 times. These are senators doing this, mind you. That would be like, and I don't say this to be funny, but that would be like senators entering the White House, for example, and attacking the President of the United States. That's how crazy this is. But they think, the senators do, that if they get rid of Julius Caesar, the Republic will come back. Remember how proud the Romans were, all Romans, of the Roman Republic. Unfortunately, the exact opposite happens. People are so heartbroken that Caesar's gone and that these public works have been taken away that it starts this massive civil war. There's this huge fight to really just reclaim Caesar's position as a dictator. There's 3 or 4 different people fighting at one time. And eventually, one person gains control over all, and that's someone who was known as Octavian. But he takes the name Augustus, which means revered one, and he becomes the true first emperor of Rome. The Senate thought that getting rid of Julius Caesar was going to restore the Republic. It does the complete opposite. It gets rid of the Republic for good. The Senate would never again have any semblance of power. It would be one emperor after another, and this is the point at which most historians recognize the Republic officially being over with, and upon Octavian or Augustus winning the Civil War, the beginning of the Roman Empire.